Hey everybody, welcome to the Player's Take, episode 59. I am your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, a man who long ago mastered social distancing, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's going on, my man? How are you dealing with these brave new times where the coronavirus has turned us all into hermits?
Well, honestly, I kind of like being in the house.
You're thriving.
You're
thriving, man. You're thriving,
This
baby.
is my
So
society,
am I.
baby.
This is my shit. This is the... You know, it almost makes me wonder, like, would we be better off in China where they don't allow us to go outside in these situations? They're like, I'm like, fuck, man, I get to stay inside for 3 weeks straight. Sign me up, baby.
And I understand. I mean, the only thing I'm worried about is the economy. But besides that, I mean, I feel like I don't want to say everyone's blowing out of control because I think that's how this spread it because everyone thought everyone else is blowing it out of control. But it is a serious issue. But I'm glad like everyone's staying inside or at least trying to stay inside.
Well, not everybody.
Not everybody in Florida.
Those mooks in Florida. Oh my God.
But I think this is a perfect time for people to play video games or, you know, if your husband or girlfriend or wife is a video gamer or something of that nature, your life partner, whoever, this is a great time to introduce them to video games if they don't play video games.
Or, you know, honestly, you know that project you've always wanted to do in the back of your mind, that podcast you wanted to host, or that YouTube channel you wanted to start,
or wanted to listen to,
or
that podcast you wanted to listen to,
right? Or yeah, or that video game you always wanted to make. Now is the time, people. If you're not working, like you're not working because of your job, but you're financially good. You know, like they're still paying you and everything.
Yeah.
And now's the time to take care of that stuff. So, I mean, unfortunately, Montrell and I don't have that luxury at the moment. We still have jobs that we have to, go to.
Yeah, we're going to start working from home, though, so we're better off than most people.
That's true. Yeah. It's fair. But, we're still going to have to work, 9 hours a day or 8 hours a day.
I do want to give just a little shout out, even though it's only like 16 or 17 listeners, but this does go viral, like the corona. I want to give a shout out to all the frontline workers, the grocery store workers, the fucking fast food workers,
hell yeah,
fucking healthcare industry workers, nurses, doctors, or whatever. You guys are still out there, and you're the real MVP. So keep doing it.
Well said, sir. Well said. Well, this is a video game show, so we're going to be talking about video games, but we will be talking about coronavirus throughout the episode because it has greatly affected the industry. And honestly, we could say we probably were talking about coronavirus before a lot of people were. We've been talking about this for 2 weeks, and I think it really didn't hit the public sphere until Thursday of last week.
Yeah.
When sports kind of got canceled permanently. So a lot of stuff has been happening to coronavirus, or with coronavirus, rather. But let's get into the normal flow of the show. For those of you who haven't listened before, this is a video game show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. Let us start, like we always do, with what we have been playing. Montrell and I have not been playing a ton of stuff in the past week. I've been playing Apex. He's been playing a little Apex, some League. I've been playing some Berwick Saga. I don't have much to say about Berwick Saga beyond what I've already said. I'm kind of going to keep my thoughts on that until I finish that game. But we have been playing Neo 2. I played a little bit over the weekend, and you just got it yesterday, sir.
Yeah, I did.
And you had a really, really fun experience with that first level. And you were really, really excited about this game when you came into work this morning. I was very happy to hear your thoughts. So go ahead, tell the world what you think of Neo 2.
So I understand why people like it, and I think I'm going to get to that point where I like it. It was just that first boss encounter, or it wasn't even a boss encounter.
Well,
the first experience that I had with the game.
I mean, it's the first thing in the first level, so we're not
spoiling anything.
Look,
so
I don't consider that spoilers.
Yeah, so as soon as you make your character,
go into it.
You go into the first level.
Well, you pick your weapons.
You pick your weapons and everything of that nature, and then you go into the first level, and then they immediately drop you in, and you fight this little goblin creature. And then
called it Gaki.
The Gaki, something like that.
Yeah.
And then the immediate next area, you have a giant monster
Horse monster.
horse monster
With
character.
a humongous club hammer.
So the game does prompt you and say like, hey, you know, to dash, press X or something of that nature.
Hold X, yeah.
Hold X.
Yeah.
So I took that as like, oh, okay, they're trying to teach me how to dodge. So this is like a teach me how to dodge moment.
Nope.
I was supposed to run past the monster, but I ended up fighting
Well,
the
I
monster.
told you this today.
Yeah, he told me this today.
The intent was for you, yeah, because you had the option to skip it, which I did.
Yeah,
and
I didn't know that.
Neo veterans, probably many of them tried to fight this thing, and many of them succeeded. I know for a fact they did. They're all over Reddit, you know, boasting about it. But I'm sure many failed and gave up and moved forward because you can just walk past the monster. There's no imperative to fight this thing. It has a patrol that is easily avoidable, you know, where it doesn't notice you. Its aggro radius is actually really small too, so
it is. Yeah,
you don't have to fight it at all. But Montrell didn't know that, so he banged his head against this wall for like an hour yesterday.
Hour and a half.
Yeah, man, and kudos to you because you beat it.
Yeah,
and,
I beat it.
Dude, that must have been quite the undertaking. Man, I imagine.
It was because I was level 1, so.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have everything unlocked.
Well, you have nothing unlocked.
You have nothing unlocked.
You're
like
basic weapon attacks. That's it.
And I learned real quick how to do some stuff, but it took me an hour and a half. And then once I passed that monster, like the game, then I saw what the game was trying to teach me.
It was significantly easier, I'm sure. You were like, this is ridiculous. Is this game? What kind of level design is this?
I was furious because that's exactly what I said. I'm like, what type of fucking level design is this shit? You can ask my girlfriend. I was fucking
You're
furious.
fighting these pathetic human enemies that like stumble when they attack you.
Exactly. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why would they put this big ass boss monster right there for like new players and they expect you? But it doesn't make sense now. You just gotta run past the monster, and that's just me. That's just me being a tryhard, I guess.
Hey man, it's just them putting their dick on the table. They're like, "This is the game, okay? If you want to try this and get your ass kicked, go for it."
Yeah, I beat the monster, and then I found out that I was like level 8 proficiency in like Switchglaive and Tonfas. So, because I kept trying to alternate between which weapons to use on the monster, stuff like that. So, after I did that, I did notice that the game opens up a lot when you get your skills. Mm-hmm. Not only do you have your level, but you got your skills for your fucking weapons and stuff like that. And then I unlocked the not a soul core, but the other. You got your Pharaoh beast, and you got the other beast where you press R1 triangle or R1 and the monkey comes out and throws a spear.
Oh, that's the soul core. Yeah, it's a soul core that you put on your guardian spirit.
Yeah.
Which allows you to use a yokai ability.
Yeah, there you go. And so now the game's opening up for me, and I am like overwhelmed right now. But I want to jump back into it and play it because the game, even though it pissed me off, that I did not like this shit. But as the day went by, I was looking at videos and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, this game looks really cool. And I remember playing it last night after I beat the monster and just fighting some of the enemies after I unlocked some of the skills. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I see the potential in this game, and I'm going to give it some more time tonight and tomorrow and over the weekend. Mm-hmm. So I think this may be my permanent single player game until I beat it.
Yeah, I had a similar. So I had my blockage experience was with the second boss, who I had about an hour and a half of frustrating fights with, and it was annoying because I had the boss down and I just kept making stupid mistakes where I get him down to like one hit and I'd fucking go for an attack and get comboed and you're dead, and I wanted to throw my controller, man. I was so pissed off. And the time I beat him, it was like such a dumb, boring fight. It probably, like, if somebody was watching me, they would have been like, God, this game looks boring as shit. Like, because I like didn't get hit. Like, it wasn't even remotely challenging. I just was like calm, cool, and collected. I actually like really like centered myself and was like, okay, I'm not fucking it up this time.
Yeah.
So it's like I had that blockage as the second boss, but that's just the way these games are. I mean, it is a Souls-like in that way, for sure. There are definitely hurdles that you have to overcome.
Exactly.
And everybody's going to have different hurdles, right?
Yep.
Like the first game, it was interesting. The second boss was often a hurdle for people. That was an extremely difficult fight for a lot of people. I beat it in one attempt.
Okay.
But the funny part is the first boss, which is in the first game, you fight this giant like ogre thing on a ship that like throws a fucking chain ball at you.
Yeah.
That thing, I spent hours trying to fight that fucking thing, and it was murdering me. Like I couldn't handle it at all. And I remember everybody being like, "Oh, that fight's easy as shit," It's like, but not for me, dude. I was like, it was horrible. So it was funny. Like I think it's just different for everybody which bosses they have trouble with. I tend to do better against the faster bosses that are like really small, nimble, and quick, which is what that second boss is. And the bosses that I have trouble with are those slow, lumbering ones.
Yeah, because sometimes their attacks are very telegraphed, but it's too slow, or you dodge too early.
Yeah, it's either you dodge too early or they have surprising quickness.
Yeah,
and it's like you're like, what the fuck? How does that thing move that fast?
Yeah.
So that was kind of what the second boss was in Neo 2. Is he has normally in his base form he's very kind of slow, but when he gets enraged and goes kind of like uber yokai form, he gets super fast. And
okay.
I kind of learned that you don't even try to attack when he's in that phase. It's like it's not worth it, because if he hits you, you're gonna get comboed and you're done. So
I am glad to see that this game is not like Code Vein in the spirit of like just being a carbon copy.
Not at all.
Yeah, like a cheap cash in on this franchise or this genre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that.
I mean, I was talking to you earlier about this. I'm kind of tired of the comparisons to Soulsborne games with this game, because it is just so different. It's really not that. It's got very few similarities to Dark Souls and Bloodborne, in my opinion. Like, it's way faster. It's way more. There's way more weapons. Like, in terms of, or not way more weapons, but there's like, I feel like there was more depth in the weapons in Neo than any of the Souls games I played, because the Souls games don't have like skill trees for your weapons necessarily.
Yeah, they don't. They have. Yeah, you're right. They don't.
In the way Neo has it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And I'm not saying it's better in Neo. I'm just saying it's different. It's very different. Yeah. There's weapon depth in those games. It's just a different kind of weapon depth.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, Neo has these giant skill trees. There's 13 skill trees, one for each weapon. There's a samurai skill tree for your character. Then there's a shiftling skill tree for your yokai shift ability. Then there is a magic skill tree, Onmyo magic, and then ninja magic, our ninja skill tree as well, for ninja weapons and ninja abilities and stuff. So the game has a lot of different play styles that it facilitates, and that's what I like about it, is you do not have to... You have a lot of options, which is, I think, where Sekiro kind of fell short for me, I guess.
Yeah.
The game is very one note in that way, and it does that one note better than anybody. But I really like the variety that Neo offers, and it gives you different ways to tackle the same objective.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So because dude, you can adopt a play style in this game where you don't swing your weapons. Like, you can use ninja stuff and get away with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be able to do it for an entire level, but you can fight a boss with bombs and ninja stars and shit and magic and stuff, and like make that work. So
I will say, playing the game, I can see why people do compare it to Dark Souls, because you can do that in Soulsborne games too. You can make a magic build, a dexterity build, or things of that nature. And then the enemy placements are kind of the same, and as far as how they place enemies and things of that nature.
Yeah, they definitely do some of that like cheap fucking hide around corner shit. Yeah.
So I mean, it definitely does have the Dark Souls aspect to it, but it is their take on it, and I think this take is really good.
I just think the feel of the game is so different from Souls.
That's where the difference is, right?
Yeah,
that's where the difference lies, and it's
the speed of movement, the speed of your
movement
attacks
is way more fluent.
And the way stamina works is completely fucking different.
Oh yeah, they designed this game for you, like you said, to play it, but I like to play aggressive, and I think it's going to be like a more. At first, I thought the health bar or the stamina bar was hindering me. Then I had to realize that in Sekiro, you don't have a stamina bar. So I'm coming from that. Whereas in Dark Souls, you do have a stamina bar. In other games like Dark Souls, you have a stamina bar. But some of the features, like the Kai Burst thing, that teaches you how to use your stamina and how to regain it and how to be aggressive. So
yeah, being aggressive in this game is a skill.
Yeah.
Like it's not something you're just inherently able to do. You have to learn how to do it. Which I like that. I like that there's definitely a skill ceiling that's very high with that stuff. Whereas, like you said, with Sekiro, there is no stamina bar. It's literally all about your timing,
Yeah.
And yeah, Souls is more, the stamina in Souls is more of literally a blockage to how much you're capable of doing at any given time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas this game, it can be a blockage, but if you're good enough, it's not at all. It's just, you just need to be aware of how much you're using, and then you're hitting your key bursts at the right time.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I think the game's really deep. I am excited to see you play it more. I do want to play some co-op probably with you at some point, but it's I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say, because you've played all the Souls games and Sekiro, which I have not gone anywhere near as deep into those games as I have with Neo. So I am a little bit more biased towards the Neo side of the spectrum.
Yeah, I understand.
Sure. So I am interested in your perspective for sure when you've finished the game. But the game seems like it has a lot in it. I think at the bare minimum, I think it's like 22 main missions or 21 main missions or something like that.
Yeah.
And dozens of side missions on top of that. So the game has a lot of content in it as well, which the first game did too. So, this is not it's not a quick game by any stretch of the imagination. So, all right. That's it for what we've been playing. So let's move into news. So, like I said, this is going to be a very coronavirus. There's one article that's kind of unrelated to the coronavirus stuff that we'll get into here in a bit, but we're going to start with kind of where we ended last time. We were talking about E3 potentially getting canceled on the back of South by Southwest getting canceled, GDC getting canceled, and Montrell brought up during the episode, he saw some live tweets saying, E3 was going to be canceled. It hadn't been officially announced. It was announced the next day, so here we are. It is that is official. Quote from the ESA. Quote, after careful consultation with our member companies regarding the health and safety of everyone in our industry, our fans, our employees, our exhibitors, and our longtime E3 partners, we have made the difficult decision to cancel E3 2020, scheduled for June 9th through 11th in Los Angeles. They are looking to coordinate an online experience to showcase industry announcements and news in June 2020, end quote. So, this was official. I didn't honestly. It's funny this happened on Wednesday, because by Thursday, I mean all hell kind of broke loose with the with the NBA having a player who had a positive test for coronavirus, and then the NBA suspending their season, the NHL suspending their season literally the same night. Then the some soccer leagues suspended their season. March Madness canceled their tournament from the NCAA.
Yep.
Tennis is on hiatus. All the tennis tournaments are on hiatus. Basically, sports got canceled on Thursday.
Yep.
And it all started with the NBA. And that same night, Trump had a speech where he instituted a travel ban on to Europe.
Yep.
Or coming into the U.S. from Europe, rather, for non-U.S. citizens. And that's kind of when shit hit the fan, really, and I think that's when most people probably started taking this seriously. But like I said before, we've kind of already been dealing with this for 2 weeks in the industry with GDC and then South by Southwest and stuff.
Yeah.
It seemed obvious that this was kind of coming to a head, and it's just funny that it happened on Wednesday before all that stuff happened, because it was like if it didn't happen by Thursday, it would have been ridiculous, because it was E3 can't happen at this point. It's impossible.
Yeah.
But the fact that it isn't happening is no surprise. They did say, like they said, they're going to try to coordinate an online experience. It's just, I don't know what that means, though, because they're trying to make this a consumer show, and it was traditionally has not been that. So I don't know what they're going to put together.
I feel like over the last couple of years, it's been a consumer show. It started off as a developer.
Right, they started letting the public in 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I feel like now they have the know-how of how to make it consumer friendly. It's just, I don't know how they're going to organize it as far as like, setting up streams and things of that nature. I think each company is just going to do their own separate stream now.
Which we've already gotten confirmation. Xbox is planning on doing their own event. Ubisoft plans on doing their own digital event. Nintendo and Square are going to be they said they're looking into doing their own events. I mean, Nintendo always does the E3 Direct, so I figure that's still going to happen. But I think they were talking more specifically about what their usual E3 presence is having stuff on the show floor for people to play.
Yeah.
A game or one game or many games. That's usually what they do at E3. So I don't know if they're planning on trying to have something like that elsewhere. I doubt it at this point. I wouldn't expect that, but Square, I'm assuming, will probably just have a digital thing as well. I would assume everybody's going to have a digital thing. EA, even Warner Brothers. Funnily enough, I saw somebody say that they were planning on having a conference for the first time, and it would be interesting to see if they try to do it anyways, or they just put their shit in other people's conferences or streams rather, which probably is a better choice, but because.
Well, I think this is like opening up some floodgates. This is going to be a major shift in the industry for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
I think this virus actually exposed a lot of things and is actually showing that we need to shift things around, stuff like that. Like, for instance, right, our job, I ain't going to mention it, but, we're working from home and there may be talks of this, that, and the third from working from home. I feel like E3 is in that same predicament where if these streams really are really successful, I think people may look into it like, hey man, we don't really need this big press event next year.
Well, they don't have to pay money
exactly
to the ESA to have a booth and then have a conference
exactly
at E3.
Exactly.
I mean, I would be surprised if E3 ever has a similar complexion to what it's had in the past ever again.
They're going to have to really, really, really make it.
It's going to be a consumer show, period.
Yeah, they're going to have to
if it's going to happen in the future, it will be a consumer show.
Yeah, they're going to have to really make it like very shiny for companies to come here, to come to them, because if they don't have nothing to offer these companies, then the companies are just going to do streams. And consumers are like, all right, I can just do it from the stream. Like, that's where I see it. I say by July, if this virus hasn't been contained by July, and even if it has been contained by July, they're still going to be doing the streams. And if the streams are very successful, then people are just going to be like, hey, Microsoft, PlayStation, Square, just host your own events now. Like, we don't need to come to you.
It makes me wonder because it's always been centered on the dates of E3, around that early June part of the year.
Yeah.
But going forward, it kind of makes me wonder if companies are going to even bother saving their shit till June. Like, what's the point?
I think that has a lot to do with the quarters as well. Maybe that's a very important quarter for them, and that's why E3 is held that time. That's why a lot of games are revealed. Summer is really slow. And ramps up, I think that's Q2, which is this.
Yeah, it's not the same for every company, but yeah, a lot of them it would be Q2.
Yeah, so
the beginning of Q2.
And, just from our experiences, Q2 is very important for a lot of companies and things that Q2/Q3, very important for a lot of companies. So I think it may stay the same. And it just may be one of those lingering things that.
It'll always just be early June, but it might not. Like, E3 might not matter.
Yeah, like when kids are like, how come it's early June? Like 20 years in the future, how come it's always early June? Well, Timmy, there was this one press conference called E3. So,
little Timmy.
Yeah, so it's gonna be weird living in a world without E3, but I think we're gonna get there. I think, especially after last year's debacle, I think people do not want. I think this is already on the cusp of happening.
Right. Then, we were heading this direction. I think coronavirus has just kind of expedited the death of E3 in the sense that it's literally not happening this year, and that just makes me wonder if they're even going to be able to hold it next year.
Yeah, I mean, we're on the cusp of a lot of different things outside of video games, and I think coronavirus expedited a lot of the deaths of those industries just now. But E3, for the last 2 years, I mean, we already saw Sony left, and yeah, after that leak of everyone's private information, in ESA not really.
God, I know that's almost like it's almost funny. It almost kind of saves them from some bad press in that way.
Yeah,
the fact that it got canceled because the media, games media, was
they were
pissed
ready
about that
to
leak.
tear them up. This year.
And I'm sure they would have gotten so much shit this year for that. And honestly, a lot of people probably wouldn't have gone anyways because of that.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I don't necessarily blame them. Having your shit leaked because the ESA is irresponsible is pretty stupid. But it's sad to see it go. It's sad to see. I just don't. This is a thing that I really enjoy. I enjoy the whole furor around E3.
I do
it's
love
fun.
the hype culture around it.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
It's crazy. Things get ridiculous. Like even we get out of control with our hype.
Yeah,
it's
right?
And we're the most cynical motherfuckers on the planet. When it comes to this stuff, I am such a bland, dry realist when it comes to video games.
Yeah.
But even I get excited with E3, and it's kind of sad to see that culture go. But if it results in us getting a bunch of streams on the same day, that'll be fine. That'll be great.
Yeah.
Or if it just results in us getting more streams like this throughout the year, I'm okay with that too. I don't mind that
who
either.
knows? Maybe another press conference will come up and take it E3's place. Be more, be more game centric and for the consumers. Because I had the feeling like E3, it was just too gaudy. Like, for instance, fucking Ubisoft's every year, Ubisoft's managed to be more cringier than the last. And it's like, who are you making this for?
They do this ridiculous shit every year.
Yeah, it's like, who are you making this for? Because it's not for us. And it's like, it's just really weird.
Fucking EA would have some soccer legend come out and talk about FIFA, and you're like, the guy doesn't even know how to hold a controller.
Exactly. So it's just really weird. So I think now, maybe if another stream comes out, or maybe Jeff Keighley hosts his own little version of E3.
I mean, the Game Awards is slowly becoming what E3 was.
Yeah, last year was very impressive.
Yeah, in some ways. There's been a lot of announcements over the past couple of years at the Game Awards, and it's becoming a show that if you follow game news, you almost have to watch it at this point.
Exactly,
just for that stuff. So it's I think the industry will naturally shift into whatever it needs to shift into in order to get this news out. It's just I enjoyed what E3 was, but whatever we get in the future, hopefully it fulfills the same need and kind of fills that void. So
out with the old, in with the new.
All right, let's move on. We're going to take a break from our coronavirus talk here and talk real quick about, well, not real quick, but there was an article.
Real quick.
There was a Jason Schreier article that dropped last week as well, early in the week, or I guess it was Wednesday. We had a lot of news drop right after our show last week. It was kind of weird. So it was an article about Naughty Dog's work on The Last of Us 2 and their crunch culture as a studio. And it was very illuminating, as Jason's articles are in this realm. But it was kind of doubling down on, because he wrote a book called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels that he detailed the development of Uncharted 4 in, and that released, I believe, in 2016, I want to say, which was the same year, or it was a year after Uncharted 4 came out, I think.
Yep.
And, he detailed that development. It was very tumultuous. Amy Hennig left in the middle of it. Bruce Straley and Neil Druckmann had to kind of come in off of The Last of Us 2 and, finish that game, basically. And it was a very crunch-filled development for that game. And the end of that chapter for that book was very positive, that they kind of were saying, we've learned a lot from this experience and we don't want to do this in the future. Well, here we are, 2020, and sounds like things haven't changed at all. And it's, much of the same. I would really recommend reading the article. It's not a super long read. This is not like the BioWare thing from last year.
Yeah.
It's lengthy, but it's not super lengthy.
Oh my God.
But what I guess, what were your thoughts on this article and your feelings, I guess, on Naughty Dog? Kind of, because it's an interesting space for them, because they're the belle of the ball always. Everybody loves them.
I'm about to be so super fucking cynical.
Okay, go for it, man.
I as much as I like their games and stuff like that, I fucking hate the culture surrounding their games. If you already know my history with Naughty Dog, you know that I just hate their fans. Their fans are like, oh my God, these are the best games ever.
Mm-hmm.
They're perfect.
It's ravenous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ravenous fanboys.
So
yeah, man.
I'm not gonna rip into them. I'm gonna rip into when this article dropped. I didn't see any YouTube videos about this article. Maybe one.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two, but they're like 5-minute videos. I didn't see any like on Twitter. I didn't see any like. I didn't see the same brashness and like cutthroat tweets that I saw with BioWare. Like people were fucking upset with like when that Andromeda shit dropped. With this, people were literally saying, "Well, if the game's good, I mean, Naughty Dog makes good games, so obviously the crunch is worth it." Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, so because it's Naughty Dog, it's okay.
Of course, dude.
Like that's so ridiculous. And I think they're getting away with it. I think this article got swept under the rug.
Well, the timing of this article's release, unfortunately, I think was bad.
Because the coronavirus,
this was on the tail of E3 getting canceled. It came right after that is when this dropped. And then I think it was around the same time. It was like the same morning. And then, literally the next day, we have a travel ban from Europe and, sports are canceled. So I think people were a little bit distracted and we had all this coronavirus shit happening. So I don't know if the timing of this article was great, but when else was he going to release it, honestly? But because, the game's coming out in 2.5 months, so they had to release it, sometime around now. But I agree with you. There was definitely very little outrage about this, which I think is telling in the sense that I don't think gamers I feel this way about a lot of things people get really upset about on Twitter. I don't think people genuinely care about crunch in the sense of they care about it when it doesn't affect something they care about, Yes.
So they care about the body of the work that came out of the crunch.
Right.
Like if Andromeda was a 10 out of 10 game, and
people wouldn't have been anywhere near as mad about that. Same with Anthem. I don't think people would have been mad about Anthem.
People wouldn't have been mad about it
if the game was good. They would have made excuses for it, and that is not the mentality to have here. Like crunch is bad in general, and there's a lot of people who disagree with that concept that you don't make things by doing it, not putting yourself fully in it. But. Being in a culture where it is implied that you give up your personal life and you work fucking 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, 7 days a week sometimes, where that is implied, that has got to be one of the most oppressive environments that you could probably do a job in, because it is unsaid, meaning that it is not something you bring up. You don't talk about it and nobody talks about it. So there's almost this like pressure built in to being at the office where you cannot talk about this, you cannot express your frustration. You cannot express how tired you are, because if you do that, you're putting a target on your back and they're going to figure out a way to get rid of you, however that is. So that environment is really toxic. That kind of environment is really toxic. And I don't think people should have to work in that kind of environment. And, I think Jason's solution to this problem every time he brings up a studio that does this is unions. And it's hard to say that would fix it for sure, but again, we've been talking about this ever since we started this podcast. These kind of things with like Rockstar, with BioWare, with Naughty Dog, with with other companies, and Call of Duty, right? Like it something at some point's got to give with this, and as much as he exposes this stuff, it feels like it's gotten to a point where it's one of those things we talk about it when it comes up, and then we forget about it. We don't pose a solution. We don't actually put pressure on these companies to do anything about it. And honestly, to some of these companies' credit, when they've been exposed, Jason has kind of come back later and said that he has heard that things have gotten better at some of these places.
Yeah.
And to their credit, good for them. I'm glad they're doing that. But it feels like Naughty Dog in this instance, and this is why this is so on my radar, and this is why you're so fucking right about this, is they literally came out like they didn't have a direct response to this, but like Neil Druckmann posted a tweet, and I don't remember the exact tweet, but it was something along the lines of, I really appreciate the work that our artists and designers and programmers have put into this game. It was something along those lines. He just like tweeted that out after this article came out. And then yesterday or 2 days ago, he posted like a clip of Ellie jumping from like one truck to another truck. And everybody was like, oh my God, oh, you can jump now. Oh, like, I'm like, dude, and you posted the video and I like fucking saw it. And I was like, wow, oh my God, she can jump. 10 out of 10, baby. Like, it's like their bar of what good gameplay is so low. The people that play these games, it's so fucking funny to me. Like, you put that clip next to like Neo or Sekiro, and it's such a fucking joke to me. It's like Ellie looks like she's fucking like 40 years old and fat, you know, and she can barely jump. Like, did you see how high off the ground she jumped? Like, the character looks so unathletic. You know, it's like the bar of gameplay for these games just feels so low because they're supposed to be story-driven cinematic games, you know, and I just feel like Naughty Dog kind of gets away with mediocre gameplay a lot of the time, and I've always felt that way about their games ever since the Uncharted games. Like, those games are fine, but they don't play that well. They're not super fun to play. Like, they're good experiences to experience, you know, and it's a fun weekend game. That's about what I put it at.
Yeah, they're a fun, casual game. It's a video game. It's a cinematic video game experience with some gameplay elements in there. I would say Uncharted is more gameplay than cinematic, but...
Is that really, though? You really would say that? Because I'm not sure I would.
I would say that more than The Last of Us. Honestly, The Last of Us was... I mean, The Last of Us had some stealth, some gameplay elements, some crafting, but it was just like the bare minimum of each thing. The thing that stood out for The Last of Us and me, actually with both franchises, were the acting, because the story's not even that great anyway. If you really want to break it down, the story's not that phenomenal.
I'd say The Last of Us is far above any of the Uncharted games, but yeah, Uncharted is just pulpy. The plot is just a pulpy action movie, you know. It's Indiana Jones. Like,
I was just gonna say that. Yeah. It's a hipster version.
It's not deep or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a hipster version of Indiana Jones. I mean, that's why when I was like, when that clip posted, I was like, yeah, we made gameplay for a game that plays games.
Whoopee.
Like, yeah, Whoopi. Like, yeah, we posted her jumping. I'm like, whoa. And everyone under the comments was just going crazy. Like, man, this looks so fucking cool. Oh my God. I'm
like, dude, it's...
And I'm like,
it looks the same as the last game. Like,
it does.
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be taking out of that kind of clip. I'm like, okay, she's in the snow. The snow particles look fucking great. The game looks fucking great, but I mean, it's just traversal. Like, it's slow ass third person traversal. Like, okay, I don't know what we're getting so crazy about.
And then the gameplay, I have seen like the combat and stuff like that. It's more fluid. It's way more fluid than Last of Us 1, which I appreciate.
Well, it looks dynamic too, which is key.
Yeah,
it's going to be very different for every person who plays it.
Yeah,
that's
and
what it seems
that
like.
looks pretty cool. And I'm not going to knock that. So that's why I said they added gameplay elements to a game.
Right.
The first one, I feel like they focused more on the story, and they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do with the game. If that makes any sense.
They did a really good job with the story. But yeah, the thing in the first game that really stands out is that kind of goes to your point is the whole sound mechanic where you can go into like a detective mode and hear, you know, hear enemies' footsteps and see where they are using sonar or whatever. And it was such an out of place mechanic in this game because there is no explanation of why your character can do this. It's a super gamey part of the game, you know?
Exactly.
And it's like, and it's funny because the game has a grounded mode that doesn't have that mechanic in it, and it almost feels like that was the game they wanted you to play. You know, and it's like, I never played the game like that, but it's like, yeah, it kind of feels like you were supposed to play it that way. And so, I mean, the thing is, they've gotten more and more cinematic over the years. I feel like Uncharted early on was more gameplay focused.
Yeah, and I like that about Uncharted. It was a nice game for me to like lay back and just escape.
And Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 definitely felt gameplay focused. Yeah, they had good stories and good acting, good voice acting and stuff. But the Last of Us was kind of the beginning, and they really started focusing on story, and it's great. The game's story is really good. Like, the voice acting is really good, and I actually think this is the best story they've ever told.
Yeah, yeah.
But then you get to Uncharted 4, and this is the game, to me, that really exposes where they're at. And this is kind of what I'm worried about with The Last of Us 2, is they've gone too far in this direction. Uncharted 4 is, like, such a departure from the other 3 Uncharted games, and it has, like, no combat in it, dude. It's
really? I haven't played it.
Dude, if you play it, pay attention. Like, count the number of combat encounters, because it is so low relative to how long that fucking game is. It's just, it feels like you go a stretch of 30 minutes to 45 minutes without fighting anything.
That's wild, because there's
crazy.
A lot of combat in Uncharted.
The other ones, yeah. And in Uncharted 4, like, it was just, I mean, I'm probably exaggerating the length of time, but dude, it's just like, it's just, you don't fight a lot. There are not a lot of combat encounters in that game. And it was very obvious to me the first time I played it, and that was not the only one with that criticism. And it just seemed like they were really focused on telling a specific story with that game. Yeah, and that was kind of what they wanted to do with it. And The Last of Us 2, I mean, the way they're talking about it, this game's going to be like 25 hours. And I'm like, what's that 25 hours going to be? Is it going to be 25 hours where you fight for, if you're lucky, half of those 25 hours? You know, it's like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, or is it going to be more like God of War, where they kind of balance the two really well? You know, and I don't know, dude. I just think the thing is like Naughty Dog has just assumed that their games are going to be great.
That's because everyone assumes that the games are going to be great.
Well, this article really illuminated, though, that they have lost, because of the way their crunch culture is, they have lost a huge number of their veteran developers, like 70% in some departments, and they are at the point where they are hiring very young people that have no experience to do these jobs that veterans were doing before, and they're not doing it as well because they're young and they're not experienced. And that's the interesting part of this, is like, it makes me wonder if after this game, the next game's not as good, or we're not going to see it for 6 or 7 years.
We're not
going to
see
too long.
We're probably not going to see another Naughty Dog game for a while. If we do, it's going to be like a small game, like a $20, $30 game, maybe an add-on or something of that nature that adds like 10 or 15 hours to the current game, on like a side story of like some character that Ellie met along her adventures in this game.
Well, this is the part of this kind of culture too, crunch culture, that really it turns into a cycle. That's why these companies, I think, have such a hard time staying relevant for long periods of time, because they might do 10 years. They might have 10 years where they're great and they make great games. And that's kind of where Naughty Dog is right now. We're at like the 12, 13-year mark of them making really great games. But eventually, you worked your people so hard and ground them into the ground so much they get burnt out and leave. And then all of a sudden, your studio is completely different, and you can't make games as great anymore as you used to. Yeah. And you start making mistakes. And BioWare started doing that same thing because, dude, they crunched back in the day on Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, and a lot of those people left because of that, and here we are. Well, BioWare's not as good of a company as they used to be. So I think a lot of this culture has a lot to do with that kind of thing, the ebbs and flows of these studios, and it is not a guarantee that Naughty Dog is going to maintain their level of quality. And the article even says, or it might not have been the article, there was a quote, I think, from an ex-Naughty Dog dev that said, the only reason their games are great is because Sony gives them the money and the time to make sure they're great. If they were on their own, independent, or with a different publisher, they would be a shit show, because they can't make a game in a reasonable amount of time because their expectations are ridiculous, and the way they treat their developers doesn't foster an environment that creates great stuff in a reasonable time frame. I don't know. It's an interesting article. I don't know.
I think they're just one game away from becoming BioWare. I think if this crunch has been going on as long as they say, they've been incredibly lucky because they still have their key staff. I think they may get one more lucky game. That game may be their version of Dragon Age Inquisition, where they barely make it out. It turns out to be a great game, and then that next game is going to be utter trash, and we're going to be sitting here again talking about them like, man, everyone's going to be like, man, what happened to Naughty Dog? They were just so great. And you already hit the nail on the head. They have a whole new studio now, and
different people.
And like I said, they may get one more good game out, and that's going to be a lucky game. Right. But I think studios need to study the case of BioWare, because what not to do in a situation like this. And I think it's before it happens, it's only going to be a matter of time unless they truly see what's going on, unless Sony like reads that article like, okay, you guys got to change this because this is bad PR for us. It is. So, but
also you don't want that either. You don't want to lose that talent. You know?
Oh yeah. But the flip side of this is they may never learn, and the reason why is because no one will ever question Naughty Dog. No one's going to question them. We only question BioWare because we got 2 bad games out of them. So
if they keep pumping out quality, I don't think anybody's going to care.
Exactly.
And that's the unfortunate reality of the situation. There. And I think the thing too, for me though, I think a lot of people have the opinion that Naughty Dog is the best game developer in the world, and I think that is like 5-8 years ago opinion, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you are like so far in the past with that because this game could be great. This could be the best game of the year. It could be the best game of the generation. It very well could be. That doesn't mean Naughty Dog's the best game developer in the world, though.
Yeah, my experience with Naughty Dog, I think they were a great company when Crash was acquired. I mean, when they had Crash.
Yeah.
Like, that's when they were, like, really great to me.
Dude, think about, like, Monolith Soft. And we don't know their inner workings. Maybe they crunch, too. We don't know. I'm sure they do. I mean, they're a Japanese developer.
Yeah, but to say, like, that culture, I think everyone crunches.
But, dude, the fact that they're pumping out great game after great game after great game within 2-3 years of each other is a testament to how good that studio is. I mean, Naughty Dog has taken them fucking 5 years to get another game out after Uncharted 5 or Uncharted 4.
And how come no one's talking about that? No one's talking about the amount of time. I would say the only Eastern developer that does this long ass the dev period, Square Enix. That's it. And that's because they try.
Well, their scope is out of control.
Yeah, they try like 5 different things within one game.
It seems like that's what's happening here because they've talked about this game like they couldn't contain all the shit they wanted to do in this game in a normal size game, and I'm like, do we really need a 30-hour Last of Us game?
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like they're almost trying to give an excuse of, oh man, we just want this game to be a PS5 game, and they're gonna make a remastered version like they did last generation of Uncharted, or what they did for Last of Us. It's going to be a Last of Us Part 2 remastered.
It can't be. They can't do that though because it's going to be backwards compatible, which we're going to talk about in a bit.
Oh yeah.
There's no way they can get away with that this time. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless they give the free upgrade like the Xbox does. Yeah.
Well, so good read. Check it out. Kotaku, Jason Schreier. It's definitely worth a read if you're interested in that kind of thing. So let's move on to what we were just talking about. So these last few stories kind of are all related. So Xbox Series X revealed their technical specs on Monday, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sony had their event today, where they streamed basically a Mark Cerny TED Talk about the technical specs of the PlayStation 5 and kind of it was an interesting video, let's just say that. But we'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
I want to start though with some kind of speculative stuff that I had been reading, and it's all trust me on this, is all interconnected. So there was a Forbes article kind of talking about, and there's been a number of articles like this in the wake of the coronavirus though, wondering if PS5 and Xbox Series X are going to be delayed. And I wanted to talk about this today because I feel like we talked about this, I don't know, like 4 or 5 weeks ago, where we thought the kind of console situation was going to be at. Maybe it was only a couple weeks ago, actually.
It was only like 2 or 3 weeks ago
when we started talking about coronavirus stuff. But it's becoming more and more likely, it feels like, that they're going to be delayed. As much as I believe they will try as hard as they can not to do that. The thing is, it's funny because today there was a tweet I don't know if it was a tweet, but it was on Xbox Series X product page.
Yeah.
And you showed me this, that it was going to be coming out on Thanksgiving this year, the Xbox Series X.
Yep.
And then that was very quickly backtracked by Microsoft.
By the time we got home.
By the time we got home, we're researching articles for the show that had already been backtracked. So I think that was a mistake. I think that was the original plan.
That was the original plan.
And I have a feeling that it's still up in the air whether it's going to come out this year or not. But when you showed it to me earlier, I told you, I was like, man, Xbox really is going to try as hard as they can to be out first, because if they do that, I think they have a real shot at beating Sony here. And we'll go over the tech specs here in a bit, but everything surrounding PS5 and Xbox, it just feels like they need to be out first.
Yeah, I feel like I did call it because you said that they won't be delayed, and I'm like, yeah, I think the console's gonna. I said this virus gets
this motherfucker, man. He's got to get his little thing in.
Yeah,
he's got to get his dig in. Look. I didn't say dick. I said dig.
I know you did, but
I didn't say dick. I know it sounded like that.
I know. I'm laughing because you're about to like rip into me real quick.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna rip into you because I acknowledge that it was very, very possible that they get delayed. But I did say that they are going to try as hard as they can to keep to these dates. And if it means they sell at a low supply, they will do that. It's just we don't know the inner logistics of what that means for them. I think Microsoft could sell, 500,000 Xbox Series X's and be okay with that, whereas Sony, on the other hand, I don't think would be very happy with that situation.
Yes, I agree with that. I think they may do what they may do is a straight to direct consumer option.
Yeah,
where you probably go to the Microsoft page and you reserve the console there. They got a limited spot, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 Xboxes ready. And then that's it. There won't be no more until, March of next year.
Right.
PlayStation, on the other hand, is going to be a doozy. And I mean, I think you can talk about, PlayStation and what they may do. But I mean, I think at this point, man, yeah, they should just delay it because we don't even know. We know what the Xbox looks like and everything of that nature, but
we don't know what the PlayStation looks like.
Yeah,
and they seem like they're in disarray with their messaging.
Exactly.
And the thing is, with COVID-19 right now, China seems to be kind of coming out of it.
Yeah.
And I think people are already going back to work in some of the places that were being quarantined.
I just don't think Americans are ready for any products coming out of China yet. Like I don't think.
Yeah, but think about it. It's March. We're 8 months out from when these things are supposed to launch.
Yeah, you're right.
By then we might be fine. It might be over at that point.
Yeah, I think the racism will be over.
Oh man. So to me, I think if they can get production going and really get these things like out and manufactured, if they have the supply, I think they will release in November.
Okay.
Unless the situation in the United States gets so bad that we can't even go out.
Motherfuckers in Florida bet not. I'm telling you, they should lock it out.
We're heading in that direction. But honestly, even if we get there, it's going to happen in April, May, June. By the time we get to November, I feel like life will probably be back to normal.
I don't know,
I'm
man.
speculating. 8 months is a long time, though, dude.
This is what they said in The Last of Us, and then you saw that that world turned out.
Hey, bro, we're in The Division, not The Last of Us. Get your apocalypses right.
Yeah, that's
okay?
right. The Division.
We're in The Division.
I actually tweeted that. I'm like, we were in The Division.
I mean, it is literally The Division, except for the money part.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not being spread by money. It's just being spread because people are idiots.
Yeah, because I saw somebody take a picture of New York, and New York was barren, like the Division.
Man. Oh yeah, no, we're living in The Division. We're not at the point where the covert government, Supercell is like trying to save the world or anything, but it's just, I don't know, it's funny. So so I think from Sony's perspective, I think they're much likelier to delay than Xbox. It just makes me wonder. I don't know. It's going to come down, I think, to Microsoft. If they decide to release it in November and stick to that, I think Sony will they almost have no choice.
Yeah.
They cannot afford to wait till March, and they're not going to release the fucking console in December. They're not going to release it in January. They might release it in February, but I just don't see that. March would be the time, and you're going to wait 4 months to release with your competitor. Like, I just don't see it, man. And the way Sony's bungling their marketing right now with this and the rollout of their PR related to PS5, I have a hard time seeing them succeed if Microsoft gets out first. But it depends. If Microsoft releases with short supply and cannot refill that supply until Sony releases their console, then it might not matter, you know?
But I think it still will matter, and I think we should talk about why it will still matter.
Okay, you want to talk about the specs?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the specs.
I think this is a huge part of this conversation because
they both released their specs. Microsoft, I don't even know how they did it. Did they do stream too or no? They kind of
they just
threw it out there in like articles.
Yeah, they just been slowly releasing information.
Right. Sony decided to do a 50-minute Mark Cerny video where he just talked in a really monotone, calming voice about the PS5 specs. And they did release the full. They did release the specs though. And hold on a second here. I lost my specs.
Your sexy specs. You remember that fucking commercial? Like, I think it was like America's Lenses had sexy specs.
Mm-hmm. Sexy specs?
Yeah. It had like a commercial. It was either Lens Crafters or like American's Lenses or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Had a commercial like that.
Yeah. Okay, I found him. It's all okay, everybody. All right, so here's the comparisons. So PS5's big selling point, or what they were really trying to push with this, and I do want to point out that this video was, I think, clearly intended to be
it was clearly for
GDC.
developers, yeah.
Yeah, it was clearly for GDC because they literally said at the beginning of the video, you know, we wanted to do this over GDC, but we weren't able to, obviously, because the thing didn't happen. So they really focused, though, on the SSD with the PlayStation 5, and that is definitely the most impressive piece. But let's go down the list here. So CPU comparisons. The PS5 is going to have an 8-core Zen 2 at 3.5 gigahertz with a variable frequency. The Xbox Series X is going to have an 8-core 3.8 gigahertz custom Zen 2. The GPUs for the PS5, 10.28 teraflops with 36 CUDA cores at 2.33 gigahertz. The Xbox Series X, 12 teraflops, 52 CUDA cores at 1.825 gigahertz. And then the memory is basically the same. 16 gigabyte GDDR6 for the PlayStation 5 at 256-bit. And then the Xbox, 16 gigabyte GDDR6 with 320-bit. And then we've got internal storage. The Xbox, 1 terabyte custom NVMe SSD. The PlayStation PS5 is going to have an 825 gigabyte SSD. And then this is the kind of the big difference from Sony's perspective. So the read-write speed of the SSD in the PS5 is going to be 5.5 gigabytes per second, which is crazy. And then the Xbox One is 2.4 gigabytes per second, which is pretty insane. So they're both going to have Blu-ray drives. They're going to have USB external support, external hard drive support. The PS5 is going to have an NVMe SSD slot that you can put in. And then there's going to be an expansion card, which we're going to talk about that on the Xbox. That is going to be proprietary that you can add onto it. So those are the kind of the core things. So let's talk about the two big ones, obviously. So the teraflops on the Xbox Series X.
Oh my, I fucking hate that word.
Higher. Who cares? I don't think this really matters that much.
You know what it is? Teraflops is, I can put it in layman's terms, is equivalent to horsepower for cars. Like, who the fuck knows what that measures out to be?
Well, okay. I feel like it's a good comparison, but a bad one, because horsepower actually doesn't that actually like
I asked our friend Dennison,
yeah,
who's a car guy, and he's like,
but doesn't that equate to like relatively how fast a car can go? Like,
yeah, but the numbers are kind of arbitrary.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah. So it doesn't really. It's just like a sexy term.
Yeah.
It's like
it has 500 horsepower.
It's better than the one with 200 horsepower.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Which that's kind of what this is. So I mean, like, from a graphical fidelity standpoint, the Xbox Series X might be able to achieve more. However, because the PS5, is going to have 2 less teraflops with their GPU. I just think I think this is really like splitting hairs at a certain point. I don't think we're going to see significant differences based off of this. The thing is that the SSDs, though, is where the shit I think gets crazy, because the 5.5 gigabyte per second read-write speed on the PS5's SSD is, as far as I know, twice as fast as anything on the consumer market right now. Over twice as fast. And there are no SSDs that can do this currently. So they've done something custom with this thing that is pretty nuts. And I think it's PCIe 4.0, and it's not gonna, I don't think there aren't even like consumer PCI 4 SSDs on the market right now that you can even use as a consumer. So this is definitely really impressive tech from that perspective. It's going to be pushing, it's going to definitely be pushing things in that regard. And the way Cerny kind of described this in the video is that it's going to allow developers to do things that they were never able to do before, because he was talking about like game design and level design, where you would kind of design your levels in such a way where you'd have these sections that are kind of useless space in order to allow the hard drive to load, like allow the system to load assets from the hard drive.
Yep.
And that's not going to be an issue anymore. So you're going to be able to just design the levels exactly how you want them to be. And it's going to change games. Like games are going to be different because of this. And this is going to be true for the Xbox as well. I don't know how much the difference in speeds is really going to matter. I'll be interested to see how developers really leverage that.
Yeah.
Or if they even bother leveraging it beyond what I just said. But I think it also means, though, we're going to be able to have more on the screen at the same time. Yep. AI is going to be way more capable of doing more within these games. Like, I think AI complexity is going to be a lot better in games. And it's so the problem with this, though, is that this is not a sexy thing for, the general consumer. This video was like sleep inducing. It was a very slow, low key video. It came out of nowhere. They had literally announced it yesterday, that it was happening today. There was very little lead up to it. There wasn't a lot of hype behind it. It almost feels like they just kind of kicked this out the door and they just wanted to get it over with, kind of thing.
Yeah, it does.
And it feels really odd to me where we are, because Xbox and Microsoft, they seem like they have a very clear plan on how they wanted to roll this information out.
Yep.
And they've been doing it. And it hasn't been impacted by the coronavirus at all. And it hasn't been impacted by GDC getting canceled. It's not going to be impacted by E3 getting canceled. And they just seem like they're rolling along. Sony, on the other hand, has been hesitant. They seem like they've been silent. The things they have talked about have been fucking weird. They've said some really.
So, I'm not defending Sony, but I think I understand why they're moving so slow. I think this is the first time, especially the games division. This is the first time the games division is put their feet to the fire, because they are the main moneymaker. Not the movie industry, not the tech industry. It's the video games.
Right.
Shareholders are now looking at them. Investors are looking at them. Everyone's looking at
There's
video games.
pressure on them.
It's a lot of pressure, so they have to move.
And I don't think they're up to that pressure.
They're not. Obviously, we can tell they're not ready for it. They may see them moving as very slow or very methodical, but to others, it's coming off as very weak.
They're scared. It feels like they're scared.
Yeah.
Dude.
Another key factor that was in that drive, or in that press conference, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. At the end, they talked about backwards compatibility. And I think this is the biggest blow that Xbox has laid on the PlayStation. Until we get, exclusives and things of that nature, as of right now, even when the exclusives come out, you know what I'm saying? This is a big selling point for people like me and you, who still have games backlogged on the PS4. So they came out and said something about backwards compatibility. They tested only 100 games.
The top 100 games.
Top 100 played games on the PS4, and they said they work on the PS5. And they said they plan on expanding that to their vast 4,000 games library on the PS4. So, but the thing is, it's very shaky the way they worded it. We don't know if they're going to drop it like Xbox did.
It's so unclear. People are literally arguing about this because it's so unclear.
Yeah,
like,
they
what
need to come out and clarify
that.
This game needs to be backwards compatible. I mean, this console needs to be backwards compatible off the rip with all PS4 games because Xbox Series X is doing that at Xbox One. And
it's not acceptable to have anything otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't even know why you announced this today if you're not sure it's going to work.
Another thing
are
is,
you fucking kidding me?
Another thing is, why haven't we seen the design of the console? Is it that bad? Like, we need to see the... I'm sorry, but we need to see the...
So curious about this.
Yes.
My curiosity cannot be quenched with what does it look like? Is it the ugly V
the
projector?
dev kit? Yeah.
Is it that? Because if it's that, they have to know that's ugly as shit. But what are they going to do? Because if that's what the design is, that's what the design is. They can't change it at this point. It's.
I think they've been doing really well with their sleek box shape.
Yeah, fuck it. Like it looks fine. It's a fucking box.
Yeah.
Like who really cares what it looks like at the end of the day? It's gonna sit on a shelf and gather dust. Like who really cares?
Well, I mean, we tore the Xbox apart, Xbox One X or the Xbox One. We tore that shit apart because that shit looked like a fucking
The
VCR.
Xbox One. I mean.
That shit look like a VCR.
It doesn't look great, but again, who cares? I sit the thing over there and I don't even look at it. Like,
well, no, not that console. The first Xbox One.
Oh, the original one.
Yeah, the one that looks like a fucking VCR.
The beast.
Yeah.
The tank, man. Yeah, the tank.
So, I mean, I understand how important design is. 'Cause it looks like a... You just caught on what I said? I mean...
No. I don't know why, but this popped into my head. I'm thinking of all the memes of the original Xbox on, like, aircraft carriers and shit. I don't know why that popped into my head, but
so,
it's so funny.
Another thing is that I'm taking from this, right? In that press conference, which is very telling, they said they learned their lesson from the PS3.
Yeah.
As far as complicated architecture, as far as making games, and it was very hard for developers to make games.
Right.
And that's why the PS4, another reason the PS4 was so successful, because it was very easy.
It's the reason why it was so successful.
It's very easy for people to port their games from like PC onto this console. Right. Whereas another reason, going back to the backwards compatibility, it should be easy. If this architecture for the PS4 is so easy, it should be easy for you to put that on your PS5, which leads me to believe, again, that it may be super fast, because you remember the PS3 was a kind of ahead of its time too, as far as processing power and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. But developers couldn't break because the
architecture was so weird,
complicated. They couldn't take full advantage of it. I think this is going to happen. I think this has happened with the PS5. I think the architecture is going to be so complicated that, or not as complicated as the PS3, but it's going to be complicated to where it's not as simple as putting my PS4 disc in there and I'm like, hey, it's running, let's go. Like, because what they said and what people are pretty much saying, they're like, oh man, it's so powerful that it can't even run the old games. I have never heard that in a PC ridiculous game. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Are you telling me that, you have what's your specs on your new computer right now? If you don't mind me asking.
I have a 2080 Ti and a
okay, you can stop right there. 2080 Ti, right? Yeah, you're telling me the original StarCraft was like, oh man, we can't handle this. You gotta lower your.
It's all about compatibility, dude. Like it's literally like Windows has been on the same architecture for so long.
Exactly.
That they either emulate it. They emulate 32. They're gonna at some point gonna have to emulate 32-bit.
Yeah,
because it's not like the OS literally is not gonna support 32-bit.
Yeah.
In a few years, but they'll be able to emulate it because that's what you do. It's not that difficult. And they've figured out compatibility a long ass time ago, back in like the XP days, because games that came out on Windows 98 didn't work in Windows XP, so they had to code a way for them to work, and they figured it out. It wasn't that difficult for them.
Exactly.
And it's like and eventually they got smart enough where they just started building that into the interface over the years, and it literally was never a problem beyond Windows XP.
And I feel like they learned that lesson with Xbox to Xbox One.
Right.
The Xbox One, you can just put your games in there, and they actually run better and at higher graphic fidelity on the Xbox Series X. I
just can't fathom, dude. I cannot fathom the idea that you're going to go in there and say, Oh yeah, we tested the 100 of the most played games on the PS5, and they work. We think what I know. This is even more wild. What they said was, we're pretty sure most of them are gonna work.
What are you doing?
Are
what
you
have you
fucking kidding me?
Yeah, what have you been doing?
You're not sure if they're gonna work? What about the other 3,900 games? You don't think they're all gonna work? So what the fuck does that mean?
So my friend said in a group chat, he doesn't think he thinks that the PS5, the actual, rollout for it and the whole process, he thinks it started last year. He's like, they didn't start this shit till last year. He's like, this is very last minute. He's like, I just don't remember the PS4 being like this. I don't remember the rollout being like this. I don't remember them being so secretive with the PS4. And he's like, it's just a lot of weird shit going on. And I said, nah, I think they've been playing this, and it goes back to my original thoughts of, them being at the top right now as far as Sony and pressure being on them and things of that nature. But, I mean, the more I think about it, the more we talk about it, maybe they weren't ready. Maybe they weren't ready until next year. Maybe Xbox saying like, hey, 2020, Xbox One coming, Xbox One Series X coming out. And they're like, fuck, we weren't ready for another year. We were planning for 2021. And I think that's what their goal was. I think because remember with the PS3, didn't the Xbox come out a year before the PS3?
Yeah. It did. It was 2005.
I think we may have a similar situation.
I just don't think. The thing is that
that would be stupid.
The funny part about that one though is that the PS5 was actually supposed to come out in 2005, or the PS3 rather. Yeah, it was supposed to come out in 2005. It got delayed. So that's possible. That could happen again, and they could use coronavirus as an excuse.
Oh yeah, it's the perfect time to use it,
dude. It's just, to me, like, they would lose instantly if they did that, because back then Xbox was a new brand that was really not established and was not trusted by game consumers at that point in time. At this point, they can't afford that, because think about where Xbox is going to be when the Xbox Series X comes out. You're going to have this fucking robust catalog of 4 generations of games. Well, 3 generations plus the new generation of games. You have Game Pass, where you can sign up for $10 a month.
It's super
you can play
consumer friendly.
You can play fucking 500 different games, super consumer friendly. You have all these things that Microsoft has going for them right now that are super consumer friendly, that are making their platform really robust. They're investing in cloud. Their cloud situation is better than anybody else's, in my opinion. I like what they're doing a lot better than what Stadia is doing, what Sony has with PlayStation Now, even with GeForce Now. I think I like Microsoft's better, because it's going to be integrated into their console.
Yep, exactly.
And I'm at the point with Sony where I see a company that is reacting to what Microsoft is doing, and they don't know what to do, because they have PlayStation Now, but it sucks.
Oh yeah,
it's not good. It cost too much money until about 3 or 4 months ago, when they reduced the price finally.
They refused to bundle it with anything.
Yeah, they just shut down PlayStation View because why? I don't know. Like, they could have easily bundled that in with the PlayStation brand, because it was branded PlayStation, but they never tried anything like that, And then you have this rollout of information where it's all over the place. It's scattershot. We don't know what the console looks like. I have no idea about the price. I'm starting to wonder what it's really going to cost.
Yeah, because you say it costs $450 to make.
That is the rumor from, I think, GameIndustry.biz wrote an article talking about the cost of the unit, and it was $450 per unit. So I don't know how much this thing is going to cost. And if this thing costs more than Xbox, they're in trouble, dude. Like, they're not going to be guaranteed to win. And if they can't get this backwards compatibility thing right, there are going to be plenty of people. If you can't tell me and guarantee me from day one that my games on PS4, I can't just put the disc in and I'm going to be able to play them from jump, I'm not getting the thing at launch.
Yeah, I'm tired of looking at my Xbox One and PS4.
I am too. I fucking hate the PS4 Pro.
Yeah,
I've bitched about this thing endlessly.
Yeah, and someone asked me on Twitter, so which one are you going to get first? And I told him, I'm like, at this point, I had to go with the Xbox Series X, because, dude, the simple fact that the backlog games that I have on Xbox platform will work. And then on top of that, my 360 games will work. Then on top of that, my OG Xbox games will work. So there's literally no reason to keep my Xbox One or my Xbox 360. I can get rid of those consoles now.
Right.
With the PS5, if I wait for the PS5, I still gotta wait. And I'm like, oh man, is Persona Royal gonna be on there?
Think of it this way, right? I am an ingrained Sony player. I've had the PS4 and the PS5. I've been in their ecosystem for 15 years pretty deeply.
Yeah.
And I've been in their ecosystem for 20 plus years. But really deeply, the last 2 generations, I really played their consoles. And the idea that I'm going to go to the next console and be like I don't have what I had before, I'm starting over with a clean slate again. And if that's the case, why would I pick their console over a console that has a better feature set?
Yeah, you're not going to get the new console until like 2 years into this life cycle.
I might just buy the Xbox out of the gate.
Yeah, that's
if
what
it
I'm
has
saying.
a better feature set, I might just buy that out of the gate.
Yeah, and people going to argue like, well, what about the games? Dude, we all know that good games do not come out for console generations until maybe a year or 2 into its life cycle. Then that's when the exclusives start to decide which console you get, in my opinion.
We'll see what happens here. I think Sony's going to have a really hard-hitting console launch lineup. I do think like their first year of games is going to be a lot better than in the past. But
yeah.
I'm like, the thing is, I don't think I'm going to give up and like not buy a PS5. I probably will. It just depends on how long I'd wait, And
that's what I'm talking about. I'm saying like they may not get consoles if they don't fix this backwards compatibility thing. They're going to get the hardcore people who go out there and buy a PS5 instantaneously, no matter what. But then you got people like you and me who are like, I can wait. I can wait for a year or two. I can wait to the second year the console come out.
Dude, with Game Pass, I can like buy an Xbox, sign up for Game Pass, and I can play like a shitload of games.
Yeah.
Suddenly that I couldn't play before. I don't have to buy them. I can just pay for that service for a month or 2 while I'm playing those games. And it's like when I'm starting with Xbox is like I don't even have to invest in a catalog of games that I have, like a library, the way I have on PS4 and PlayStation 3. I don't even have to invest in that because I can just sign up for this $10 service, and all of a sudden I have this huge library of games to choose from.
And people are going to say, "Well, you have the same thing with PS Now."
No, I don't. It's not even true.
And why don't you? Why?
Well, because the catalog's not nearly as big, first of all, and second of all, it's a streaming service that you can download a portion of the games for. So I have to stream most of the games, and the PS3 games you absolutely have to stream because those aren't emulated. So you're playing you have to stream on Xbox Game Pass. You can download anything.
Yeah,
any game on Game Pass you can literally download and play it from the console. There's no streaming involved. Period. None.
Yep.
So to me, it's like it's not even close. They're not even comparable services, And so that's the thing. Sony's like on such a back foot right now. The only thing they have that is keeping me interested is their games. That is it. That's it. And the fact that I have a long history with that. I'm used to their console. I'm used to their controller. But I like the Xbox controller. There's nothing like that. That controller's good, so that is not even a thing that's going to keep me on Sony's side.
And you know what I heard? I heard there was a rumor flying around that said both the Xbox and new PS5 controllers will be compatible with each other. Like you can just swap them out, and you can play on whichever controller that you can prefer.
And if that's true, then who gives a shit?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, man. It's just they're moving so weird, man. Like you've been in my opinion, you've been in the lead for the last 3 or 4 years in this console generation. Actually,
the whole thing,
the whole thing. Well,
6.5 for
6.5 years. Year 2 of that, when you realize, like, man, we're blowing Xbox out the fucking water. You should have been looking at, okay, what does the industry want? Okay, they want backwards compatibility. They want good games. They don't want the stream. They want the streaming service, but they want it better. Maybe we should make it available for download. They want PS3 games. How can we get the PS3? There had to be some way to make PS3 games emulate on the PS5. I just know it's not impossible because people have made PS3 emulators. There are PS3 emulators out there right now. and they're not the best.
That's the problem. PS3 is so complicated. Emulation for it has not really gone well. I don't know where it's at currently, but it had been very rough up until like a year ago. Last time I looked into it. So I think it's just really difficult to emulate that. But you'd think the company that made the console would be able to emulate it better than anybody, not rather than some group of fucking fanboys who are a bunch of random amateur programmers, And dude, this is the company. This is the company that couldn't even do name changes on their network right.
Yeah,
like I don't expect anything out of these guys. I just don't.
I don't know, man. Like
I think the console is going to be good. I think the hardware is going to be good.
Yeah, I think the console is going to be good. But you come off such a good run with the PS4, and you saw the trends of what everyone was doing. I think Nintendo's going to have the same issue as well.
Yeah.
People are going to be calling them out. We need backwards compatibility, especially Nintendo.
Nintendo's got. Oh my God, they get away with so much.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in the past, but they are so anti-consumer right now, it feels like. Because we don't have virtual console. We can't even buy the games. Forget about play the ones we've already purchased. We can't even buy the games again. Like, that's how bad they are in the situation Nintendo's in right now. So, I don't even want to talk about them.
Yeah, but I don't know. They're playing to their strengths, which is their games.
Yeah.
They're exclusive games. We don't know what those exclusive games are, but they are playing to their strengths. I don't think they expect the Xbox to play to the Xbox's strengths. You know what the Xbox's strengths are? They knew they weren't going to be able to compete with the games. That's why I acquired those 15 companies. But they knew right now we're not going to be able to compete with games. So what can we do? All right, well, let's just be as much consumer friendly and appeal to the most casual gamers, someone who just wants to get into games. You want to buy an Xbox? You can buy an Xbox One S right now for $200. Get Game Pass with it, and you can play all our games right now, and you can become an Xbox fan. We're going to appeal to you that way. We're going to use all our features to our example, and they played that to the strengths. And then when they came out with the Xbox One X, whoever was in charge of their marketing, running with the tech division and the video game division, like, it was genius. They're like, they just played to their strengths, and they kept playing to their strengths. They kept doing it to the point now where everyone now wants this to be the standard.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about this, right? I could go to Xbox when the Xbox Series X comes out, and I could get Game Pass, and I can play Halo 5.
And you probably went, man, this is an actual good game, or it's a bad game.
I don't have to buy it. Yeah. I can play Gears 5. I can play Forza. I can play any of their exclusives, any of them, because they're all on Game Pass. I can play Ori and the Blind Forest. I can play Ori and the Will of the Wisps. They're all on Game Pass. I can play any of them. I don't have to buy any of their exclusives. And it's like with Sony, dude, Sony's going to have... Like, the only reason Sony's in a good position is because they won this generation.
Yeah.
If they hadn't won this generation, they'd be fucking dead because they have nothing to entice you to come over. I don't think they're going to win over anybody who is an Xbox purist right now. Like Sony, they have no chance of that.
Oh, yeah. It's over
because
for that.
They have no value in their value proposition of the Sony ecosystem right now is poor. It's really poor. It's not great. Whereas with Xbox, there's so much value in spending a little bit of money, and I just think that's such a huge advantage for them right now, and they have really put themselves in a position to overtake Sony if Sony missteps. The only thing saving them again is the games, and we're going to see if Microsoft can come with some heavy hitters with games, because if they can, and if they can match what Sony has in terms of exclusives, in terms of the quality of those exclusives, I just don't know. Like, Sony's in trouble, man. Like, they're not going to live forever off Horizon and The Last of Us and all these companies. Like, eventually, people are going to be like, shit. I mean, Microsoft's like, yeah, sure, it's not the same IPs, but, I mean, these games look just as good, And I can play them for $10 a month. Why not? And I just think the strategy, and even if Microsoft loses at first, think about it in 3 years. People could do the same thing. Like, you have 3 years of exclusives built up. You buy an Xbox and you just play them on Game Pass.
Only thing that another thing that Sony has over Xbox is overseas support.
That's true. The Japanese exclusives.
They have the Japanese exclusives, and I don't know if Japan will let that die. Yeah. If it came, Now, we need to see how big it is. I need to physically see how big the Xbox One X is, or Xbox Series X is. But it looks like that can fit inside the average Japanese apartment, because that was like everyone's biggest critique of that console, because everyone has a limited amount of space,
Right.
and now that thing looks like it can just slide right in there, and now the Japanese also have access to their library on the PC, and PC gaming is booming over there right now.
Yeah.
So they're slowly grabbing their players right now. Yeah, that's all that Sony has right now. Like you said, is their games.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a niche. Nintendo has its niche with it being portable and things of that nature. Xbox's niche is all its features that you not only are you getting a console, but you're getting our entire ecosystem, our library. When you put $10 into this console, you're getting your $10 worth.
Yeah.
What can I say about PlayStation Plus? I get 2 free games every month.
Who cares? They're not.
Whoa, whoop-de-freaking do. I gotta pay another $10 for, or is it $10 now for the PlayStation Now?
I mean, it's $60 for a year.
Yeah, okay, so it's probably like $5.99, $6.99.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's like $10 a month.
Okay, so I gotta pay another $10 on top of that. I mean, yeah, if I pay $60 a year, but let's just say, how hypothetical sake, some people just do play monthly.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta pay that much for streaming games. I can't even download all the games. I gotta stream them.
Right.
And then on top of that, I gotta keep my old console.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta keep my PS4 because you're not sure if my
games are gonna work.
Yeah. So only the hardcores are gonna play this, and your console may be the third year generation purchase. Like, I'll just buy it next year. No good games really appeal to me right now. Because if you're trying to get those Xbox people, they're like, no good games appeal to me right now. I might just, and then for me, it's just like, no games are out right now that justify, I gotta get this console right now. There aren't any games out like that right now.
That's what happened with me with PS4. I didn't buy it for a year because there was nothing to play, and the game I bought was Destiny, and I got it because of the Destiny like special edition, the white one.
The
white PS4. That's the only reason I even got it at that point in time. I wasn't even super into Destiny like as a concept. So, and it turned out the game wasn't even that great. So it's like, I don't know. It's just a weird situation. I hope we're wrong. I hope they can be more definitive next time they talk about back compat. And I really hope that they consider or are trying to get PS1 and PS2 games backwards compatible. Not necessarily the discs, but at least allow people to be able to play them digitally and buy them digitally.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I think that's the most disappointing thing about Sony's ecosystem is that at a point in time during the PS3 era, they had PS1 and PS2 games, and they have some PS2 games on PlayStation 4, not very many, but they have zero PlayStation 1 games, almost zero.
That first year of the PS3, which is such a valuable console because it can play PS1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
And I think they just vastly underrated how much people wanted backwards compatibility.
Yeah. And it sucks because, being able to play those old games, I was not big in the Sony ecosystem during the PS1 era, and I'd love to play some of those games. But the only way for me to do it right now is either buy a PlayStation 1 and play it on there or emulate. And it's like I don't really want to go through all that. So I don't know, man. Yeah. I think that's all I got on that topic. But anything else?
No, man. I hope PlayStation proves me wrong. I really hope, like, within the next couple of weeks they come out, they see all this feedback on the timeline from the news articles, from different podcasts and things of that nature.
Yep.
And they really come out and they specify, hey, this is what we mean. Yeah, you can play all 4,000 games. We're just testing them. That's all we meant. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, specify that.
Be clear.
Yeah, don't leave it up in the air.
Don't word it in such a way where we can misinterpret what you mean.
Exactly, because if they come out and say that, and then even though the Xbox has this grand library, I will instantly go to the PS5 instantaneously. They like, all your PS4 games.
Yeah, I get to keep my entire library.
Yeah, I'm instantly going, bomb. Right, I'm done.
Well, one more thing too. I think this whole situation is kind of, to me, indicates that they need an E3 stream. I don't think they can skip E3 the way they did last year where they said nothing. I think they literally need to have an E3 stream where they announce games, they announce PS5 release date, they show the hardware. I think they need to show games that are going to be out on launch and then games that are coming within the next couple of years on that console as well. I think they have to do that on E3 because I just don't think they can get away with skipping it entirely and doing something else because they've been really mum on details. And if they skip E3, when are they going to tell us about this stuff? In the summer, like no one's going to care in the summer, I feel like the summers is just not good timing for that. So E3 would be the time. So I expect them to do some sort of stream for that, honestly. But all right, let's move on to our final story of the day. Our NPD numbers came out for February, so let's go through those real quick. Nothing new here. We've continued the downward trend of the end of a generation. Total video game sales for February were down 29% from 1.06 billion in February 2019 to 755 million in February 2020. Video game hardware is down 34% from 277 million in February of 2019 to 183 million in February 2020. PC and video game software sales were down 31% from 477 million in February 2019 to 307 million in February 2020. And then accessories were down 11% from 308 million to 265 million. So continue the downward trend at the end of this generation. No surprise there, really. But top selling games of 2020, February 2020, this is actually going to be a very intriguing list because very little came out in February. So let's see here. So let's start. Number 1, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. Number 2, NBA 2K20. Number 3, Grand Theft Auto 5. Oh my God, dude.
I'm tired of this fucking game.
What? Like number 3? Number 3?
I'm so tired of this fucking game.
What the fuck, dude?
Every time we do this, it's on the list. It's just like, it just won't die.
Why is it number 3, though? I can understand 20 or 19, but 3? Oh, man, this is what happens when nothing comes out in a month. Everybody just buys the same shit they buy every month. Number 4, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Number 5, Tom Clancy's The Division 2. So this was likely because
it was $3.
It was like $3 on PSN for a week or two.
Yeah.
So they were like giving it away basically. Number 6, Mario Kart 8. Number 7, Ring Fit Adventure. Number 8, Madden NFL 20. Number 9, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 10, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Number 11, Minecraft. Number 12, Luigi's Mansion 3. Man, still holding strong on the list, dude. Number 13, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 14, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Number 15, Pokemon Sword. Number 16, Just Dance 2020. Number 17, FIFA 20. Number 18, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Number 19, Need for Speed Heat. And number 20, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. And guess what wasn't on the list? Dreams.
Oh shit, that game did come out.
That was the big release for the month for Sony, and not even on the list, dude. Not even in the top 20 in a month where, let's see, which of the games on this top 20 list even came out in February? 0?
I think Kakarot did.
No, that was January. Yeah, nothing on this list came out in February. Not a single game on this list came out in February, and that has got to be telling for Dream sales numbers. Can't be good if that's the case. So, let's see. What's the top 10 on PSN or on PlayStation? Here we go. Top 10 PS4. Dreams is number 8 on the top 10 PS4 list, which, God, that's bad. Man, that's not good. On their home console, the only console they released on, not even in the top 5. So
I think it's a game that should be released on PC.
I think they will. They have to. It definitely is a game that will sell much better on PC. So, of course, the Nintendo games continue to be on the list as well. So, interesting list. I think this month will be a lot more interesting because there's so many big releases coming out. So, let's move on, I guess, to those game releases. So, this week is another big week. We've got Animal Crossing coming out on Friday, and then Doom Eternal also coming out on Friday.
Animal Crossing got pushed back.
It did?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Was it supposed to come out today?
No.
I mean, not today, but
Friday?
yesterday?
No, Friday.
Okay, yeah, I think it got pushed back.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I believe Animal Crossing got pushed back.
Hold on. We got to confirm this. No way. Why would they do that?
It's only 3 days.
Oh, why? Wait, they did it. They pushed it to Monday?
Either.
Oh, is it the limited edition console that's getting delayed?
Maybe. Because when is the 20th?
Friday.
Okay. Well, they came out and said that they're pushing the console back or pushing the game back. And then I remember everyone lost their shit over 3 days. And then maybe the original day was just, maybe it was for yesterday.
Oh, it was the 17th. You're right.
Okay.
Was it? I know it was March 20th. It was 2020. That's what I remember.
Okay.
It was 3/20/2020. I do
maybe
remember
maybe they pushed it. Maybe they reneged on that.
Okay.
Because they did put up a tweet. I remember seeing it, and people were losing their shit over Animal Crossing being delayed.
Well, it should be coming out sometime in the next week.
Yeah.
By the time we record, it'll be out, I assume, next week. But Doom Eternal's not changing its date. It's definitely coming out Friday. So that one is a big one. RBI Baseball 20. This is a week after the show, I think. And then Kingdom Hearts all-in-one package. You know, the fourth time they've bundled all the games together. You know, so actually, the show's coming out this week too.
Wait, what? Bad. There's a Kingdom Hearts show?
No. The show, the baseball game, the show, the one Sony makes,
okay.
is coming out, and so is RBI Baseball. They're coming out the same week. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts all-in-one package, all the games in one package, is coming out this week as well. But it doesn't include the Remind DLC, which is bullshit, in my opinion. But that's pretty much it. Any other games you're seeing that are of interest to you coming up?
Nope, that's all I have.
All right, fair enough. That is going to be it for us, guys, I believe. So let's go through the regular rigmarole. If you
no, they released the game early. That's what I'm sorry, y'all. So
early.
They released.
Is it out already?
Yeah, a lot of people got their copies already, but then other people had to wait till the 20th. So a lot of people were upset about that because they didn't feel like they should have to wait. They feel like they should have been a global release on the 17th.
Oh, when it got leaked or whatever.
Yeah, because people were like, they released it early because due to the coronavirus and
they didn't want people coming to the store or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. So they said only the pre-orders and people who got the consoles, I think, get on the 17th, and then the rest of everyone else gets it on the 20th.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, that's it for us, guys. If you like this episode, please like the episode, review the episode, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on. And please, if you could, share it with your friends. If you'd like to talk to either of us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap4 the Hokage for Montrell. That's the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01. The show is at The Players Take. And if you'd like to send us a question, you can do so at theplayerstake01@gmail.com, or you can send us a question on Twitter, of course, as well. Otherwise, that's going to be it. Next week, I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about. But in the meantime, in this time of quarantine and social distancing, just take care of yourselves. Wash your fucking hands. Be hygienic. Don't be up in people's business. Avoid people if you can. Just be smart. Don't go to the fucking beach, with 1,000 people at it. Just don't do it. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. So, everybody, take care of yourselves. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you on the next one. All right? Bye, guys.